Kiriyamori sneaks out of his house one night feeling free, like he belongs to the night. He heads over to his swing and enjoys his time. Lately, Kao has been having trouble sleeping. He's a 14-year-old in his second year of middle school. One day, he received a love letter, but he told the girl that he didn't know how to date and turned her down. To deal with his sleep issues, Kao searched for advice online, which suggested talking to a family member or a close friend. He laughs at himself because he doesn't really have anyone like that. When his phone vibrates, he panics, thinking someone found out he sneaked out, but it's just a coupon from a rental store. Ku keeps walking and continues reading about what others do to help them sleep. He finds one post about drinking alcohol to sleep better. He stops at a vending machine, hesitates, and decides to buy a beer. Just then, a woman shows up behind him, pointing out that he doesn't look old enough to be buying alcohol. Ku apologizes, saying it was a mistake and that it was for someone else, but he tries to run away. The woman grabs his arm and says he can't fool her. She assures him that she won't call the cops and guesses he's having trouble sleeping. She offers to help him out. As they walk together, she explains that people stay up all night because they aren't happy with how they spend their days. She points to 3 men sleeping on a bench and says they look happy. Ku assumes they're just drunk. The woman asks the men if they've been drinking, and when they say yes, she gives them high fives, telling them to head home and sleep. Ku is surprised by how friendly she is with strangers, but she tells him that nighttime is a time for freedom when you need to let go of your worries. Wanting to join in, Kao runs over and high-five the men too. But right before he does, one of them gets sick and throws up. The woman tells them not to let alcohol control them and to clean up their mess. As they keep walking, the woman asks Kao if he's feeling sleepy yet, and he says yes. She invites him to her place. In the elevator, she mentions that she enjoys helping people who can't sleep by giving them advice. When they get to her apartment, she asks Ku to lie down on her futon. She takes off her coat, and Ku gets nervous, thinking she wants to do something inappropriate. But she reassures him that they're just going to sleep on the same futon. Kao thinks about leaving, but she convinces him to stay, promising that after he sleeps, he'll wake up feeling refreshed. As Ku and the woman lie down on the futon, she tells him to rest. Kao finds her a bit odd but nice, and he plans to pretend to sleep before sneaking out. After a while, she asks if he's asleep, and when he doesn't respond, she bites his neck, drinking his blood and enjoying it. Kao, still awake, is shocked when he sees the blood on her mouth. He suspects she's a vampire, and she admits it. Kao asks if he's going to turn into a vampire, but she explains that it won't happen unless he falls in love with her. Blood is just food for her, and turning people into vampires every time would be too much hassle. When Kao keeps asking why he didn't turn, she finally tells him that to become a vampire, the person has to fall in love with the vampire. They head outside, and Kao admits that he doesn't really know anything about love. He has no crush and feels that the girls at school are usually mean to him. The woman realizes Kao has a tough time at school. She asks him how he feels about his first night out, suggesting that it's his first step outside of his usual life. Kao says his life was fine and he was just doing what he thought was right, but now he wants something more. Nazuna tells him that human blood tastes best at night, especially just before someone falls asleep, when the blood is infused with the essence of the night. Ku wonders why they're on the roof, and she explains that it's because they're closer to the moon. To infuse his blood with more of the night, she suddenly kicks him off the roof. As he falls, Kao thinks he's going to die, but Nazuna catches him, telling him that nighttime is for fun. She starts flying around with Ku, making him feel amazing. Kao sneaks out for another night and meets Nazuna again. She reminds him that for vampires, sucking blood isn't just eating, but can sometimes be like copulating under certain conditions. Kao feels embarrassed by the word copulating. Nazuna teases him, asking if he forgot why he's there, and Kao says he hasn't. He still wants to become a vampire, which means he needs to fall in love with her. This makes Nazuna feel awkward. Kao remembers that before he asked to become a vampire, she got a request. Nazuna admits that she just wanted to taste his blood again. Ku agrees and offers his neck, but Nazuna calls him a pervert and says there's a right time for that. Later, Kao searches for Nazuna but can't find her anywhere, so he heads back near his home. He realizes that since he won't turn into a vampire immediately, it's not necessary to meet her every night. Just then, Nazuna appears and greets him, which annoys Ku because he's been looking for her. Nazuna explains she was out looking for someone else's blood. When Kao questions her about the copulating part, Nazuna awkwardly admits that sucking blood is part of feeding, and that she sometimes does it with random people. Kao suggests they exchange contact information so they don't have to keep searching for each other. He asks for her phone number, but Nazuna says she doesn't have a cell phone. After thinking for a moment, they head to her place, where she finds an old, bulky cell phone. She explains that she bought it but found it too heavy to carry around, and when smaller ones came out, she lost interest. Nazuna gets tired and lies down on her futon, inviting Ku to join her. While lying there, she asks if she can suck his blood. Kao refuses, saying she should go suck someone else's blood since he's not turning into a vampire yet. Nazuna admits that she was actually looking for him earlier because it's rare to find someone with blood as tasty as his. Kao then offers his neck again and Nazuna happily drinks his blood. One night, Q is frustrated again because he can't find Nazuna. When she finally shows up, he's still annoyed by how hard it is for them to meet up. Kao reveals that he brought her a pair of wristwatch transceivers. Nazuna is excited, thinking they're super cool, and asking if they can play with them. Ko explains they're for staying in touch, but Nazuna is more interested in having fun with them. He gives in, telling her she can play with them, and remembers how he used to buy transceivers as a kid just to play with. Nazuna teases him, saying that would require friends. Ko then tells her about a time when he was 9. He bought 2 transceivers, hid one in a secret spot, and planned to talk to whoever found it. But no one ever called, and when he checked, the other transceiver was gone. Still, Kim ever tried calling it and just put his own transceiver away. Nazuna finds the story both sad and funny, laughing even harder when Kao admits he's still wearing his old kid transceiver. Ko gives her a transceiver and they do a test run. Nazuna runs off and after a while Ko calls her. She responds, pretending there's an enemy nearby and asking if she should attack. Ko tells her to wait, feeling happy that they can now communicate like a couple. This embarrasses Nazuna, but they continue spending time together. Later, Nazuna takes him to the roof of Kao's school. She tells him that the night changes how things look and the school doesn't seem so bad at night. Q agrees and Nazuna bites his neck, sucking his blood. She jokes that it feels a little lewd to be doing this at his school. Kao remembers that Nazuna enjoys making lewd jokes but gets shy when it comes to romance. He also realizes she's probably never been intimate with a human before. Q asks if he can call her Nazuna-chan, which flusters her, and she tells him to use San instead. Q thinks they should start by being friends first. As Kao heads home, he looks at his old transceiver and wonders if someone still has the other one. Suddenly, the transceiver rings, shocking him. A girl wearing the other transceiver appears behind him, calling his name and asking what he's up to. Nazuna asks Kao if he really doesn't have any friends. Ku wonders what makes someone a friend, and Nazuna suggests that it's when you consider them one. Kao says he had friends as a kid, but isn't sure if it's right to call someone a friend if they haven't spoken in years. He thinks he kept his old transceiver because he wanted to stay connected to someone. Then Kao presses the call button on the transceiver. Ku asks Akira why she has his transceiver, and she explains that she kept it because he gave it to her. They were in different classes, and when Ku became more social in 6th grade and made new friends, she missed the chance to reconnect. She waited for him to call on the transceiver, but he never did. When Kao stopped going to school, Akira checked on him and heard the transceiver ring. Ku is confused, thinking he gave it to her directly, but Akira says he just left it in her mailbox. Kao remembers leaving it in a mailbox without knowing it was hers. Akira says she worried about him being lonely but knew they were still friends, even though Ku was distant, because the transceiver was his way of showing he cared. Kao realizes it was all a misunderstanding. He remembers how, when they were younger, Akira invited him to play with other kids, but he was busy watching ants and said he was having fun on his own. Believing they were friends, Akira joined him and watched the ants with him. Q accepts this and greets Akira, realizing it's been a long time since they've spoken. He notices she's wearing her school uniform and asks if she's going home since it's 4 a.m., but Akira says she's heading to school. She likes taking morning walks before class. Embarrassed, Kao explains that he's just heading home. Akira suggests they meet again tomorrow at the same time. Kao returns to Nazuna's place and tells her over the transceiver that he actually has a friend. Annoyed, Nazuna hangs up and goes to sleep. A few minutes later, Nazuna notices Kao has been leaving earlier, right after she drinks his blood. She jokes that their relationship feels physical. Kao says it benefits her, and Nazuna teases him about seeing someone else. Ku awkwardly denies it, but Nazuna suspects he's hiding something. Kao starts meeting up with Akira regularly after spending time with Nazuna. They don't talk much, just casual small talk. Kao remembers Akira being more talkative before, so he asks if she enjoys spending time with him. Akira says yes. Ku wonders if she likes him, but then he notices Nazuna spying on them. When Nazuna approaches, she teases them about hanky-panky. Akira asks if Ku knows Nazuna, and Nazuna bluntly explains that their relationship is just physical. Akira thinks Ku and Nazuna must like each other based on how they talk to each other, which embarrasses Nazuna. To prove it's not romantic, she bites Ku and drinks his blood, revealing to Akira that she's a vampire. Later, Nazuna takes them to a bar. Nazuna orders a beer, while Akira orders breakfast. Akira asks Ku why he lets Nazuna drink his blood and if it's related to him skipping school. Ku admits he stopped enjoying school and didn't know how to deal with it. Akira shares that she also doesn't like school or home, but she still goes. She's happy they've reconnected and asks Ku to come to school with her, saying it would be more fun with him there. Mizuna finds Akira interesting, though Akira still doesn't fully believe she's a vampire. Mizuna doesn't mind. She points out that Akira is Ku's friend, but wonders why they hadn't kept in touch for so long. Then, out of nowhere, Mizuna gets up to leave. Ku notices she didn't pay for her drinks, so he covers the bill and runs after her. He asks if she's upset, but Mizuna insists she's not angry. Cab doesn't believe her and says he can't know what's wrong if she won't tell him. Frustrated, Mizuna starts insulting him and flies off. Ku tries to follow, but loses her. Kao searches for Mizuna but can't find her. He eventually trips, and while cleaning himself up, he remembers the transceiver. He calls Mizuna and apologizes for secretly being his friend. Mizuna responds that she isn't mad about that. Ku, who's never been in a fight before, feels lost and doesn't know how to make things right. He just wants to make up with her. Mizuna suddenly appears and questions whether their relationship even needs making up. She explains that she wasn't angry, just a little annoyed. Then she asks why Kao didn't respond when Akira invited him to school. Koibimitsu hesitated because he didn't know how to explain to a human friend that he won't go to school because he wants to become a vampire. Noticing blood on Kao from his fall, Mizuna kisses him to suck it. She points out that he called Akira his human friend and wonders if that means he has a vampire friend too. Then she says goodbye, calling Kao her friend, and promises they'll meet tomorrow. After she leaves, Kao reflects on the fact that friends don't usually kiss. Meanwhile, one of Akira's classmates has been staying up all night playing video games. The teacher tells them they need to sleep at night to maintain a healthy sleep routine. After school, Akira goes home and goes to bed at 8:30 p.m., as usual. Hugh goes out at night and wonders where Mizuna is. He finds her quickly, in an obvious spot, but decides he's not ready to talk to her yet. As he walks around, he thinks about their kiss and realizes that only couples kiss. He starts to wonder if he's in love with Mizuna and if he's finally achieved his goal of becoming a vampire. Eventually, Mizuna shows up, annoyed that she had been waiting for him in such an easy place to find. Ku invites her to bite him, saying he's accomplished his goal and has fallen in love with her. Mizuna agrees and drinks his blood, and Kao feels excited, thinking his human life is over. After she finishes, he asks if he's a vampire now, but Mizuna says no. She explains that he might be confused about the kiss. It doesn't mean he's in love, and it's probably just lust. Kao feels embarrassed that he got so excited over one kiss, especially since it was his first. He assumes Mizuna has had many, but she tells him it was her first kiss too, and that friends can kiss each other. Lately, Akira hasn't been sleeping well and wakes up before midnight. She gets ready for school and heads out. Kao sees her and is surprised to find her out at midnight. Akira tells him that her teacher said they need to sleep, but she insists she is sleeping and just woke up. Realizing she plans to skip sleep and go straight to school, Ku invites her to hang out with him and Mizuna. At Mizuna's place, Ku and Mizuna are playing Street Fighter 03, but Mizuna wins. She invites Akira to play and offers a kiss if she wins, but Akira declines and asks if she made the same offer to Ku. Mizuna confirms it, but Ku denies it. Mizuna says they kiss each other without conditions anyway. Akira says she supports Ku, but can't support him being with Mizuna. Mizuna responds that Kao doesn't actually like her and suggests they play a different game. Mizuna pulls out a dating sim game where 3 girls ask Kao to go to school with them, but he declines, saying he doesn't like groups. When another girl bumps into him and leaves, Kao admits he liked her. Mizuna teases him about liking quiet girls with big breasts, making him blush. Akira relaxes, realizing Kao hasn't changed much. Mizuna says it's almost 4 a.m. and suggests they go to sleep so she can drink some blood. Akira is shocked to hear they sleep together, but Ku tries to explain that it's not inappropriate. Mizuna adds that tonight is different because it's a guy-girl-girl situation. They all lie down on the futon, but Akira feels embarrassed and wants to leave, saying she'll wait in front of the school for a while. Mizuna points out that it's raining and she doesn't have an umbrella, so Akira decides to stay but gets annoyed watching Mizuna drink Ku's blood. Kao feels bad and cries because he told Mizuna not to do it in front of Akira, but Mizuna wanted to add some guilty pleasure. Akira asks about the blood-sucking, and Mizuna explains that Ku's blood is tasty, and he wants her to drink it. Akira doesn't understand why he'd want that. Kao finally admits he wants to become a vampire someday. Surprised, Akira says at least he has a future goal, since he usually doesn't talk about what he wants. Kao explains that he needs to fall in love with Mizuna first to become a vampire. Mizuna gets shy, saying she likes to joke around but gets embarrassed when it comes to romance. Mizuna then tells them to go to sleep, and they all lie down. Akira explains that she's only there because of the rain and isn't actually sleepy. Mizuna encourages her to lie down, saying she might fall asleep anyway. Ku apologizes for involving Akira in all of this, but he wanted to show her how he spends his nights so she wouldn't worry. Akira asks if he's enjoying himself, and Kao confirms that he is. When Akira notices him hesitating to hold his hands, she reassures him that it's okay to relax and not to worry if their hands touch. She tells him that even if he becomes a vampire, she still wants to be friends and will keep encouraging him to go to school because he still needs to study. Akira turns over and falls asleep. 4 hours later, Akira wakes up and realizes she'll be late for school. She wakes up Ku, tells him she's leaving, and he wishes her a good day. Mizuna asks Akira if she slept well, saying that people sleep better when they feel satisfied with their day. Mizuna wakes up at 4:30 p.m. and plays a video game but gets frustrated with it. She's waiting for a delivery that hasn't arrived yet. When she checks, she sees they attempted delivery earlier and left a note about the missed attempt. It's now after 8 p.m. and she wonders what to do. Bored, she decides to go outside, but everyone she sees looks sad. She finds a cat and plays with it for a bit, but then realizes the cat smells bad, and now the smell is on her hands. Since it's after 10 p.m., she decides to go to a public bath to wash up. She leaves her transceiver watch at the front desk and asks the attendant to let her know if it beeps. While bathing, Mizuna is annoyed that vampires don't have reflections, so she can't see herself. Suddenly, her transceiver rings and she rushes out of the bath to meet Kyo, who notices she looks a little different today. After hearing that she just took a bath, Kyo mentions that he wanted to take one too, and Mizuna suggests they go together since she didn't finish her bath because of his call. After the bath, Kao has mixed feelings and wonders if it's Mizuna's new hairstyle or if the warm water is affecting him. He struggles to focus and asks Mizuna to suck his blood, which she agrees to. Kao has figured out that when Mizuna drinks his blood, it helps calm his emotions and makes him understand his feelings better. Mizuna ends up drinking a bit more than usual because she's hungrier. Kao starts feeling like he needs to rest, so he finds a place that advertises relaxation and asks Mizuna to go with him. She agrees, but once inside, Kao realizes it's a place for couples, which makes him feel embarrassed. Mizuna asks if Kao has figured out his feelings, explaining that when she drinks his blood, she can sense his thoughts through its taste. She wonders if she looks so attractive after her bath that it confused him again. Kao admits that while he wants to fall in love with her, he feels guilty for having such thoughts about a friend. Mizuna tells him that his emotions make his blood taste better, and by stirring up his feelings, she enjoys it more. She then remembers that they can watch adult videos in the place they're at and wants to turn one on to annoy the people next door, but she gets frustrated when she realizes she has to pay to watch them. Later, Kao thinks about how many people Mizuna has sucked blood from to know that his tastes better. However, he doesn't want to know exactly who they are. Just then, Mizuna spots someone she has drunk from before and points them out to Kao, who finds her behavior rude. Mizuna realizes he's jealous and doesn't want to hear about her past. She tells him she's even sucked blood from women, but now she only drinks from him. Ku wonders if she had someone like him before that she regularly fed from, and Mizuna confirms it. Ku guesses she pretended to offer naughty services, which offends Mizuna. She explains that she worked as a professional cuddler, but Kawa still sees it as a naughty service since she dresses like a nurse. She shows him a price list, and Q decides to order the massage course. During the massage, Kao realizes that she helps customers relax and fall asleep before sucking their blood. Mizuna starts explaining different pressure points and how they benefit the body. Just as she's about to drink his blood, the doorbell rings. Mizuna checks and sees it's a customer, forgetting to take down the sign. She asks Q to answer the door, remembering that the customer is interested in the massage course, which can be tiring. Q opens the door and invites the client in, explaining that the boss is resting. Kao returns to Mizuna, who has started playing a video game. She tells him that this is a good deal for him. The client, Kiyosumi Shirakawa, is a 24-year-old, slightly exhausted office worker who will get to touch Mizuna. Kao feels irritated and scolds Mizuna, wanting to tell the client to leave. Mizuna insists that she can't turn the customer away, explaining that she needs to make money. She adds that since she's been spending time with Kao, she hasn't been working and has no income. Kao doesn't really care, but Mizuna points out that enjoying their nights out costs money, and that she paid for the hotel. She begs Q to do the massage and offers him 2,000 yen. Kao has never given a massage before, but Mizuna tells him to just follow her instructions. She also promises him another kiss if he agrees to help. On her way home from after-work drinks, Kiyosumi Shirakawa thinks about how awful those events are and how she'd rather be at home or even back at the office. Feeling exhausted, she remembers how much she enjoyed being at Mizuna's place last time, so she decides to check if it's still open. She's surprised to find a boy named Q welcoming her. After waiting for a moment, Kao returns and says he'll be the one giving her a massage. While massaging Kiyosumi, Kao thinks about the 2,000 yen he'll earn and the kiss he might get as a reward. When Kiyosumi asks his age, he tells her he's 14, which surprises her because she wasn't working at that age. When she learns it's his first day, she suspects he has some complicated reasons for working. Kao explains that he needs money and wants to experience the night since he stopped going to school and can't sleep. Kiyosumi relates to this, remembering how she felt the same way 10 years ago. She recalls going out at night, enjoying the quiet, and feeling like the night was her private space where she could stand in the middle of the street with no cars around. Kiyosumi then asks why Kao stopped going to school, and he admits he got bored. She confesses that she came over because she felt drained. While she enjoys her work, it's hard to do it alone, and she has to deal with her boss and coworkers while pretending to have a good time. She starts crying, saying she can't take it anymore and doesn't want to go to the office or attend after-work drinks. Her phone rings and it's her boss calling, which means she has to go back to work. Ku wonders if he should stop her and what will happen to his pay if she leaves, but then he decides that helping her is more important. Getting serious, he blocks the door and tells her she's not leaving. He calls Nazuna, who appears through the wall, and asks her to stop Kiyosumi from going back to work. Nazuna agrees and tells him to open the window. When he does, Nazuna grabs Kiyosumi and throws her out the window. Kiyosumi briefly feels like she's about to die, but Ku jumps after her and Nazuna quickly catches both of them. Once they're back on the ground, Ku apologizes for what happened and tells her that if work makes her cry, she shouldn't have to go. Kiyosumi responds that he doesn't understand that being an adult means putting up with things, even when they make you cry. Kev admits he doesn't really understand work and is probably a bit naive, but he thinks it's crazy for a boss to call her at 2 a.m. He adds that he wants to be a vampire like Mizuna because vampires don't have to follow human logic. Kiyosumi realizes that Ku wants to become a vampire to enjoy the night, and she feels a little jealous of that. She starts laughing at his reason for wanting to be a vampire. Kao walks into the street, determined not to give up. Kiyosumi joins him, remembering how fun the night feels, but admits she can't keep doing this because she has to work. Ku promises to turn her into a vampire if he ever becomes one. As Kiyosumi leaves, Mizuna comments on Kao's bold promise, and he thinks to himself that he just needs to make her fall in love with him first. Mizuna asks Kao for ideas on what they can do for fun that night. He suggests karaoke, movies, darts, skateboarding, and arcade games, but she turns down all of them. Then he suggests going to a nighttime pool, and Mizuna likes the idea. They go to a club with a nighttime pool, but it's not what Kao expected. While waiting for Mizuna, he wonders what she looks like in a swimsuit. When she arrives, she's wearing clothes over her swimsuit. As she goes to get drinks, Kao notices she looks even more attractive than usual. Two guys approach her, and seeing Kao's reaction, Mizuna teases him, joking that she might have left her date. Kao, feeling jealous, pulls her away from the guys. Later, Kiba tells Mizuna he didn't enjoy the nighttime pool because it was too crowded, and he didn't like hearing what others thought of her. He also didn't like how easily people tried to befriend her. Mizuna asks if he wants to swim, and without warning, grabs him and flies away. She takes him to a pool that's completely empty, and Kao realizes it's the pool at his school. She jumps in with her clothes on and apologizes for teasing him, but Kao says it's fine. Mizuna then starts to suck his blood. Ku wonders about the feelings he experienced today and considers asking Mizuna if she'll explain them to him. Kao is out early the next day in the crowded streets and worries about running into someone he knows. Suddenly, Kiyosumi calls his name. She finished work early and wants to thank him for helping her by buying him a soft drink. It starts to rain and Kao runs for cover. He notices people using smoking areas for shelter and a guy flirting with a girl, but she turns him down. The girl waves at Q, and when he opens his drink, she asks him what he thinks about the situation. She mentions that the guy offered her money but was just waiting for someone to flirt with her. She says she's bored and messes with guys to pass the time, but that guy wasn't her type. Q looks at her school uniform to see if he recognizes it. She notices and asks if he wants to look closer, but Ku apologizes, saying he did mean to stare. She takes his drink and walks away. Kao follows her to get his drink back, but she has already finished it. She says nothing exciting has happened lately, and Ku reassures her that things will get better. She hugs him and thanks him. Just as she's about to bite him, Mizuna appears and cuts the girl's arm, claiming Q as her prey. The girl comments on Mizuna hanging out with a human. After reattaching her arm, she says she needs to either make Q a proper offspring or kill him. Mizuna fights her off. As Q tries to back away, another girl grabs him from behind and flies off with him. Mizuna kicks the first girl and demands to know where Kao has been taken. The other girl takes Q to a place where 3 more women are waiting, who all comment on how young he is. Q quickly realizes that they are all vampires. They tell him he can choose one of them to turn him into a vampire or he'll be killed. One of the women introduces herself as Nico Harada and the others as Midori, Hatsuka, and Kabura. The girl Kao met earlier is named Siri and can choose her too. Ku surprises them by saying he wants Nazuna instead. Nico is shocked, noting that the other vampires are popular while Nazuna struggles with romance. Midori says that Ku will eventually come to like Nazuna, which offends Nico. Midori explains that virgins usually don't go for Nico's style, and Cal admits he's a virgin, which surprises them all. Nico then suggests that she would be a good match for him. Ku agrees that Nico has some similarities to Nazuna, which offends Nico, but Ku clarifies that he's just talking about how they act. He then wonders why Nazuna isn't more popular. They explain it's because she doesn't try to be. They also gossip about how vampires attract humans to make offspring. Meanwhile, Nazuna tells Siri that she dislikes their gossip. Siri warns her that if she doesn't plan to turn Kao into a vampire, she's putting him in danger. Nazuna insists she wants to make an offspring, but Siri questions whether she's serious or just making excuses. Siri believes Ku is just a distraction and tells Nazuna that if she doesn't turn him, they'll either turn him themselves or kill him. Midori asks Ku about his ideal type of girl and moves closer to him. She asks if Nazuna is his type, but he says no. When she asks if she's his type, he avoids answering. The others expect him to say yes, but Ku insists that if he had to choose, he would say no. He explains that he doesn't really understand what it means to like someone. Hatsuka reminds him that they will kill him if he doesn't pick one of them. Nico adds that they don't actually want to kill him, but he can't keep seeing Nazuna unless he wants to become a vampire. Kao then shocks everyone by saying he does want to become a vampire. They ask if Nazuna knows this, and Kao explains that his goal is to fall in love with her. Nazuna arrives just in time to overhear Ku. The others wonder if she's upset, and Hatsuka points out that her face is red. Ku checks on her, but Nazuna tells him not to talk to her. The others comment that this is why Nazuna isn't popular and explain how she should have reacted. Nazuna says she's leaving with Kao, but they stop her, asking how she plans to make him fall in love with her. Kabura doubts Nazuna has a plan, especially since she keeps her distance from the vampire group. Kabura asks what makes Kao so special and suggests that he could hang out with her whenever Nazuna is busy. Nazuna warns Kabura to stay away from Ku. Nico asks Nazuna why Ku is special to her. Kao responds by saying it's because Nazuna likes his blood, which is why he wants to become a vampire. The group agrees that Nazuna will bite him to turn him. Midori, however, warns that they can't fully trust Nazuna, suspecting she might be lying about wanting an offspring. Ku insists that Nazuna told him to fall in love with her if he wanted to become a vampire. Nico laughs, saying that's good enough for her. Kao then declares that it won't be a problem because he plans to become a vampire, no matter how long it takes, surprising everyone. When Kao says he doesn't care how long it takes, everyone is surprised. Confused, Ku asks what's going on, and Nico explains that there's a time limit. After having his blood sucked for the first time, he has 1 year to become a vampire. Otherwise, it won't happen. Ku turns to Nazuna, who casually admits she forgot about the time limit. After a moment, Nazuna says it's time to go, but reminds Kao that he hasn't gotten his reward for the massage he gave her. She kisses him, shocking everyone. As they leave, Ku thinks Nazuna is different for a vampire, but is glad he met her. Kao tells Akira about the time limit, and she thinks it's bad news. Ku agrees, adding that 1 year feels too short to plan for the future. Akira expresses concern that Kao could become a threat since he knows so much about vampires. Ku insists it's fine because they let him go, but Akira points out that if he doesn't turn into a vampire within the year, he'll stay human and still pose a threat. Kao starts to realize how serious his situation is and wonders if he only has a year left to live. The next morning, Akira finds Mahiru lying on the stairs. He explains that he had fun all night and ended up falling asleep there. Akira asks why he was out all night, considering he's usually a good student. Mahiru says he likes someone who can only spend time with him at night. Akira hopes she's not a vampire. Mahiru mentions he noticed that Kao hasn't been coming to school lately, and Akira confirms it. Mahiru says he hopes they can hang out again. Akira is confused because she doesn't remember the three of them spending time together. Mahiru thought they were friends, but Akira insists she can barely recall when it was just the three of them. Before class, Mahiru says he'll talk to Ku and asks Akira to let him know he was worried if she can't reach him. That night, Kao runs into Siri but pretends to be someone else and tries to run away. Siri stops him and asks about his tasty blood. Kao explains that he doesn't know how to fall in love. Siri, excited by Ku's innocence, calls herself the Love Master, claiming she knows how to help boys and girls get closer. Later, Ku goes to Nazuna's house to ask her out on a date, but she refuses and goes inside to play video games. Ku wonders if she's too obsessed with gaming, so he turns off her console. Nazuna gets annoyed but explains that modern games have save features, unlike old ones. Ku insists that they go on a date, and after some irritation, Nazuna agrees. He takes her to a movie, but during the film, Nazuna asks if he's trying to annoy her with a romantic comedy. Ku apologizes and they leave. Outside, Ku looks at a paper Siri gave him with date ideas. The next suggestion is to go to a cafe and talk about the movie. As they head to the cafe, Nazuna gets frustrated when Ku asks about the film. She wonders where these ideas came from. Kao remembers Siri's advice not to mention her, since Nazuna dislikes her. When Nazuna sees the paper and realizes it's from Siri, she thinks the ideas are ridiculous and decides to go home. Later, Nazuna feels hungry and checks the list of date ideas. She goes to Kao's place and asks if he wants to do the last idea, which is to have a meal while looking at the city lights. She takes Ku, flying over the city, and starts questioning what a date really is. If this counts as a date, she wonders if they've been dating all along. Nazuna admits she prefers doing what they usually do because she finds it fun, so she sucks his blood. While looking for Nazuna, Ku sees Mahiru with another boy and two girls. He freezes for a moment, but when Mahiru doesn't notice him, he relaxes, thinking Mahiru hasn't changed. However, Mahiru spots him and comes over. They move to a quieter area, and Ku is surprised that Mahiru recognized him. Mahiru says it's normal because they're friends. Kao has often wondered when people become friends, and he considers both Akira and Mahiru as friends. He thinks Mahiru is perfect, good grades, great at sports, and well-liked. Hearing that Mahiru sees him as a friend makes Kao happy. As they talk, Akira shows up. Mahiru asks if she's heading home, but Akira says she's going out. She tells Mahiru that Kao has been skipping school to hang out with a girl and wants Mahiru to convince him to go back to school. Mahiru asks if Ku is having fun with the girl, and Kao says yes. Just then, Ku gets a message, apologizes, and leaves. Akira teases Ku, saying he acts cheesy around Mahiru because he looks up to him. But Ku insists Mahiru is everyone's role model. After that, Akira decides to head home. Nazuna is looking for Ku, but spots Mahiru with a woman. Ku arrives soon after and asks Nazuna to hold hands. Nazuna comments that every time she takes her eyes off him, he disappears, but Ku corrects her, saying it's actually her who does that. Sari receives a message from a guy, but ignores it because she's no longer interested in him. She then spots Ku and rushes to hug him, but Nazuna suddenly knees her in the face. Ku thinks it's rude since Siri didn't do anything to him, but Nazuna explains that she just hates Siri and her leg acted on its own. Sari gets up and the two start fighting. Afterwards, Sari says she never intended to hurt Ku. Nazuna questions why Sari tried to get close to Ku, reminding her that it's not normal for a vampire to befriend a human without drinking their blood. Sari falls silent, admitting that Nazuna is right, and says she just wanted to mess with Kao a little before walking away. As Sari leaves, she gets another message from the same guy, which starts to annoy her. Kao runs after her and asks if everything is really okay, mentioning that she previously said things weren't fun for her. Sari says she lied, but Kao doesn't believe her, thinking that even vampires can have their own problems. Sari then invites Ku to karaoke, and he agrees. At karaoke, Sari talks about how popular she is, but mentions that dealing with all the guys is exhausting. Ku thinks he understands her because he also gets annoyed by people who think romance is everything. Sari casually comments that if things get too messy with these guys, she can always kill them. Then she suggests they sing, but gets irritated when Ku just stands there, browsing through songs instead of joining in. Kao explains that he doesn't know the songs and hasn't watched TV lately. Sari lets him pick a song, and when he finally sings, she recognizes it as an old song but enjoys it anyway. She asks if there are more songs from the same group. Suddenly, a guy starts banging on the door, calling out Sari's name. Ku wonders if he has the wrong room, but Sari explains that this happens a lot because she's popular. The guy keeps banging, and Kao finds it creepy. Sari reassures him that the guy won't come in, and when she greets the guy, he backs off. Ku begins to think this is the problem Sari is dealing with and asks her what she wants to do to fix it. Sari says Kao should give her real advice, but warns him that in the end, he will enjoy hanging out with her. She jokes that her solution is simple. She could just kill these annoying guys whenever she feels like it. Kao finds that arrogant, but Sari argues that humans are the arrogant ones because they don't care when others die but are against killing. Ku clarifies that while sometimes killing is necessary, with this guy, she could just talk to him instead. The guy bursts into the room and Kao realizes reasoning with him is impossible. Sari decides to kill him, but Ku tackles the guy and drags him out of the room. They escape together, and the guy asks Ku what his relationship with Sari is. Kao says there isn't one and asks the guy the same question. The guy explains that he met Sari when she helped him after he tripped. He started developing feelings for her, but knew he wasn't her boyfriend. Sari shows up and announces she's going to kill the guy, revealing that she's a vampire. Kao stops her. Nazuna appears, and the guy admits he fell in love with Sari. Sari says she never intended to turn him into a vampire. She just wanted a friend. She's tired of always making people fall in love with her. Sari tells the guy they should stop seeing each other. Ku watches all this and realizes Siri is difficult to deal with, but he also notices that Aikido the guy is reasonable. He finds it strange that Siri enjoys Aikido's company as a friend, but is willing to kill him to avoid ruining things. Kao suggests that instead of ending things violently, they should just talk it through as friends. Siri explains to Akihito that she's a vampire, and that relationships like Nazuna and Ku's are rare because they usually don't work out. Though she says they shouldn't see each other anymore, Siri starts crying, admitting that she doesn't want to stop being friends because she has fun with him. Akihito admits he had fun too, but eventually fell in love with her. He asks Siri to make him a vampire so they can stay together. Siri asks if he's sure, and when he confirms, she agrees. Kao watches Siri and Aikido and feels a bit jealous, wishing for something like that too. Nazuma notices and teases him, saying they can take things slowly, but for now, she just wants to suck his blood. Siri then invites everyone to karaoke to celebrate her new vampire offspring. Meanwhile, Midori works at a maid cafe and gets a message from a coworker saying she can't come to work that night. Needing help, Minori considers calling someone but avoids asking her vampire friends, fearing it would turn into a popularity contest. Just then, she spots Nazuna and Ku and gets excited because Nazuna isn't popular with guys, making her the perfect helper. Nazuna agrees to work a shift at the cafe and dresses up as a maid. However, she wonders what Ku will do. Midori suggests Ku order something and she'll cover the cost. When Kao says no, Midori is surprised and decides to show him how cute she can be. She asks Nazuna to practice by saying the lines she taught her, while Kao acts as a customer. Ku enters the cafe as a customer and Midori greets him by calling him master. She lets Nazuna introduce herself, but Nazuna forgets her lines and only gives a simple greeting. This frustrates Midori, who breaks character for a moment in front of other customers. Midori asks Nazuna not to mess things up, especially since she's getting paid. Hearing this, Nazuna decides to try harder, but she's still not very good at it. Meanwhile, Midori serves another customer, acting cute, and he enjoys it, complimenting both her and the coffee. A maid named Arisa brings Kao his order and introduces herself, realizing he's new. When Kao mentions he's there because of Kohako, Arisa quickly corrects him, saying Midori is only known as Midori-chan at work. Arisa asks if Ku came from Midori, but he denies it. She then explains that Midori became the cafe's #1 maid as soon as she started a position Arisa once held, though she avoids talking much more about it. After work, Midori wants to take a picture of Mizuna to post on the cafe's social media, but she notices someone has already posted sneaky photos showing the maid's underwear. Ku looks at the pictures and zooms in on one, which makes Midori and Nazuna call him a pervert. Ku points out that none of the photos are of Midori, which surprises her. Kao then clarifies that all the pictures are of Arisa. Midori guesses that a customer might have a thing for Arisa. Still, she's shocked that Kao could identify Arisa just from her lower body. But Kao explains that Arisa wears her uniform differently, and in some photos, her face is visible. Midori decides they need to catch the culprit and asks Kao for help, and he agrees. The next day at the maid cafe, Ku looks at the secret photos and notices one of Arisa changing clothes. Arisa walks in, sees him staring at the photos, and tells him it's embarrassing. Kao quickly apologizes. He then realizes that the photos might have been taken from the balcony. When Arisa leaves to change, Ku and Nazuna check the balcony but find it locked. Nazuna helps Ku reach the balcony, and they start investigating. Ku takes some photos from the balcony but still feels something is off. Nazuna suggests he take a picture of her, which makes Ku realize that taking good photos requires knowing how to pose. This gives him an idea, and he asks Nazuna to gather everyone after work, expecting the culprit to return. Later, Midori joins, excited that Kao has a lead. They hide in a locker, and after Arisa is left alone, Ku's suspicions are confirmed. Arisa starts to take a selfie, revealing she was behind the secret photos. Kao explains that the photos were too well taken to be from a spy. There were no inappropriate shots, which made him think they were intentional. Midori guesses that Arisa felt frustrated after losing her #1 maid position and wanted attention. Arisa admits she was seeking recognition but says she'll quit. Midori reassures her that it's okay as everyone at the cafe has a desire for recognition. Nazuna, enjoying the pay, decides to work at the cafe sometimes. On her day off, Arisa visits the cafe, sits next to Ku, and reflects on how much time she spent taking selfies. She never thought it was okay until Midori complimented her. Arisa then asks Kao if they can take a picture together. Nazuna made some money working as a maid and decided to buy things for herself. Enjoying the idea of earning money, she wanted to improve her cuddle buddy business to make it more profitable. She set Ku out to find new customers for her. Ku walked around looking for people who seemed very tired. He spotted a woman smoking on a bridge who looked exhausted. Ku approached her and mentioned that she seemed tired, asking if she wanted to chat for a bit. She agreed, and they went to a coffee shop. Kao explained that he wasn't trying to flirt with her, which slightly disappointed the woman as she thought a young boy was interested in her since she had been feeling lonely lately. Kao then told her he was looking for customers for a cuddle buddy business, targeting people who are sleep-deprived. He clarified that the cuddling would be done by the business owner, not him. Hearing that Ku was working part-time, the woman joked about labor laws, mentioning that people under 18 couldn't work late hours and threatened to report him. Ku panicked, but she quickly reassured him that she was just kidding. She advised Ku to be more careful about who he approached and mentioned that she preferred sleeping alone, not cuddling. Kao then mentioned that they also offered massages, which piqued her interest since she worked long hours. Curious, Kao asked what her job was, and she handed him her business card. He saw her name was Enko Yugisu, and she was a private detective, which excited him. Enko asked Kao if he usually stayed out late and if he knew someone named Akio Akiyama. Kao didn't recognize the name until she showed him a picture of Ak-kun. Nervously, Kao denied knowing him. Enko noticed his nervousness, pulled him closer, and checked his pulse. After listening to his heartbeat, she let him go, left extra money for the drinks, and told Q to keep the change. She asked him to contact her if he heard anything about Akun and teased him to flirt with her next time before leaving. Ko told Mizuna what happened, and she was disappointed, saying she wouldn't do anything without alcohol. Q, expecting this, brought her booze with the money Enko gave him, which made Nazuna happy. Later, Mahiru invited Ku and Akira to school at night to have fun together. After jumping the fence, Mahiru explained that with Kao no longer attending school, they might not have met again. He wanted to create good memories for the three of them. Once inside the school, Mahiru talked about an urban legend called the Seven School Mysteries. The most famous one is about Hanako-san, a ghost said to haunt the bathrooms. Mahiru suggested they check out the mysteries, starting by making Akira go into the bathroom to summon Hanako. Mahiru, pretending to be Hanako, replied in a girl's voice, scaring Akira, but she can him in return. Afterward, they continued exploring the other mysteries, having fun and taking pictures along the way. After finishing the mysteries, Mahiru mentioned one last story about a teacher who disappeared from the school 10 years ago. It said the teacher appears at night, but Q and Akira weren't scared by the story. Mahiru convinced them to check it out anyway since they were already at the school. When they reached the classroom, they saw a person standing inside. The distressed teacher asked why they were at school at night, warning them it was dangerous. He admitted he was losing control and lunged at Akira, preferring women. Mahiru tried to stop him, while Ku, realizing the teacher was a vampire, froze in shock. Ku grabbed a chair and hit the teacher, pushing him away from Akira. Ku noticed the teacher seemed different, unkempt, and desperate. The teacher warned them to run before he lost control completely. Anko appears, saying she was following a different lead but ended up finding the teacher. The teacher says he can't hold back anymore and needs blood. Anko offers her neck, but after biting her, he pulls away, saying her blood tastes awful. Anko realizes that the teacher hasn't fed in 10 years since becoming a vampire, and was tricked into it. Anko gives the teacher a silver ring, telling him she'll let him die as a human. As she comforts him, morning comes and he turns to dust. Anko explains that the teacher, who had been missing for 10 years, died today as a human, even though he was supposed to die naturally soon. She tells Kao that she handles cases involving people who were taken by vampires. When Ku asks why she killed him if he was going to die soon anyway, Anko says he shouldn't have continued living as a monster. She warns Kao that he knows nothing about vampires and says she won't let him pursue his foolish dream of becoming one. Kao thinks about what Anko said and realizes he really doesn't know much about vampires. He goes to see Nazuna, who's eager to drink his blood, and he agrees. However, when she hugs him to start drinking, he remembers the teacher vampire who lost control and pushes her away. Nazuna asks what's wrong, and Q tells her about the starving vampire. She guesses that the teacher couldn't control himself anymore after starving for so long. Q asks if that could happen to her, but she tells him not to compare her to the teacher and reassures him that it's not something he needs to worry about. Nazuna suggests they take a walk and talks about how vampires die if they don't drink blood for 10 years. She mentions that some vampires couldn't accept being vampires and chose to die by not feeding. Q tells her that Anko, the detective, said she'd stop him from becoming a vampire. He starts to worry about Nazuna's safety, since Anko knows how to kill vampires, and admits that for the first time, he finds vampires a little scary. He apologizes for pushing her away and says she can drink his blood if she wants. Q meets Mahiru, who asks why Kao still wants to become a vampire after a vampire almost killed Akira. Mahiru questions what Kao hopes to gain from it. Kao starts to reflect on his reasons and wonders if he really just wants freedom. He begins to doubt that it's about Nazuna, especially since he's trying to fall in love with her just to become a vampire. Mahiru asks if Kao plans to trick people or risk losing control like the teacher, urging him to really think about it. Nazuna decides she wants to visit Ku's home, so he takes her there. She notices there are no porn magazines and asks about his parents. Kao explains that his mom is probably working and his dad left after the divorce. Nazuna asks if Kao has changed his mind about becoming a vampire. Kao admits that he likes the night but realizes it's not all fun. He says he's okay with that as long as he doesn't hurt his friends. Nazuna reassures him that he'll be fine even if he doesn't become a vampire. Nazuna asks Ku why he thinks the Meg is fun. Kao says it's about freedom and she agrees but adds that it's also because his life is unusual. Mizuna wonders if he still feels the same excitement as before now that his nightlife has become more routine. She tells him that anything special doesn't last forever and that being a vampire can be boring. She apologizes for lying, admitting that she's felt bored for decades since becoming a vampire. Kyo asks why she only showed him the fun parts, and Nazuna thinks it's because that's the way she wanted it to be. Ku calls Anko to meet up. Anko initially thinks he's going to ask her out, but feels disappointed when he doesn't. Instead, he wants to talk about vampires. Anko tells Kao that she knows a lot about him, like his full name, that he lives with his mom, does well in school, what his hobbies are, and that he likes girls with big chests. She jokes that while he doesn't have any porn magazines, he sometimes saves pictures on his phone. Kim is shocked by how much she knows, but Anko admits she was just messing with him. Ku asks Anko why she's so against him becoming a vampire. She explains that from a human's point of view, vampires are evil. While humans can hurt each other, she can't allow non-humans to cause problems that shouldn't exist. Anko asks if Kao really thinks he can handle drinking human blood or if he'll end up suffering for 10 years like the teacher. She also points out that despite all of his interactions with Nazuna, he hasn't fallen in love yet, which makes her doubt he'll ever become a vampire. Anko even questions whether he's capable of romantic feelings at all. If he isn't, then she won't need to stop him. However, since he knows about vampires and is in contact with one, like Nazuna, both he and she could be in danger. Anko tells Kao he needs to decide whether he wants to live as a human or become a vampire and risk being killed by her. If he chooses to remain human, she'll handle the vampire problem and he won't need to worry about it. Kao disagrees that all vampires are evil, saying he sees some similarities between vampires and humans. Anko accepts his stance but then calls the police to report that a young boy has been spotted walking around at night, claiming she's concerned. She warns Ko to hurry home before he loses his chance to enjoy the nighttime. Ko runs home, frustrated that he didn't get to ask Anko any of the questions he had, like how she kills vampires, why her blood tasted bad to the teacher, and how she knows so much about vampires. As he hides in a playground to avoid the police, he considers going to Nazuna, but decides against it, not wanting to cause her any trouble. Just then, Hatsuka finds him hiding. Hatsuka takes Ko to his home, where 3 excited adults greet them, clearly happy to see Hatsuka. They say they've been trying to make him proud. Hatsuka apologizes to them and tells them he has a guest, asking them to leave. The 3 adults are shocked and angry at first, but when Hatsuka gives them a cold look, they quickly calm down and leave. As Hatsuka takes a shower, Ko waits and wonders about the 3 adults. He thinks they might be Hatsuka's offspring and notes that Hatsuka seems different from other vampires. Then Hatsuka opens the bathroom door, still naked, and asks Ko to bring him a towel because he forgot one. Ko is shocked to realize that Hatsuka is actually a man, not a woman. Hatsuka is surprised Nazuna didn't mention this, but Kao explains that she doesn't share much information with him. Meanwhile, Nazuna visits other vampires and explains why she thinks Ko won't become a vampire, but she asks them to let him live. Nico, one of the vampires, gets angry, slamming the table, and suggests that Nazuna should be ready to face the consequences. He points out that killing Ko would be an easy way to solve their problems. Mizuna threatens to kill Nico for being rude, and he demands to know how Kao is different from the other humans she's encountered. When Hatsuka returns, Kao tells him that he's unsure about becoming a vampire. Hatsuka is surprised since Kao had seemed interested before. Kim brings up Anko who killed a vampire, and Hatsuka explains that vampires don't know much about their own kind, so Nazuna isn't really hiding anything from him. They also talk about how some blood tastes better than others, and Hatsuka recalls Nazuna mentioning that Ko's blood tasted especially good. As Hatsuka moves closer to Kao, Ko tries to stop him, but Hatsuka says Ko looks like a girl, so it's fine. Ko asks why Hatsuka dresses like a girl, and Hatsuka explains that he looks good that way and attracts both men and women. Kao then wonders if Hatsuka ever fell in love with someone to become a vampire and if he had any doubts about it. Just then, Hatsuka gets a message with a picture of the broken table from the earlier meeting. Hatsuka explains that there aren't strict rules saying Kao has to be killed, but there will be consequences for both him and Nazuna, and the consequences will be worse for Nazuna. Hatsuka suggests that Ko become his offspring instead, saying this would save Nazuna. Kao considers it but thinks it doesn't have to be Hatsuka, although he doesn't mind that Hatsuka is a guy and thinks he has a cute face. Hatsuka assures Kao that, as a guy, he understands him and is confident he could turn him into a vampire. He explains that he just needs to trick Kao's brain into thinking he's in love, which would make his offspring happy. However, Kao declines the offer, saying he still wants to fall in love with Mizuna. As Nico gets angry, Hatsuka asks Kao if he's prepared for the consequences of his choice. Kao admits that he isn't, but says his priority is making sure Nazuna isn't bored. He then leaves to find Nico and the other vampires. When Ku arrives, he sees the smashed table and learns from Nico that Nazuna just left. Kao feels relieved that she's okay, but Nico warns him that Nazuna might not be able to talk to him much longer for his own safety. Worried, Ku asks what happened to her and decides to leave, determined to find her. Nico tells him that Nazuna doesn't want to see him, but Ku yells at Nico to shut up, insisting that he needs to find her. Kao searches for Nazuna but encounters police officers who were called earlier by Anko. He runs away from them. Meanwhile, Nazuna is at the place where they first met, buying alcohol from a vending machine. When Kao finds her, he asks if she's okay, and she says she is but turns away from him. Ku tells her that before he met her, his life was boring, but now it isn't. He starts to wonder if the same is true for Nazuna. Nico comments that consequences are important, but no amount of punishment will get through to Nazuna because she prefers talking about love. He explains that the only way to ensure Q isn't killed is for Nazuna to make him fall in love with her. Nazuna admits that she's had fun and even forgot how bored she used to feel. Though she pretended to know everything she did with Q was new to her. Q agrees, saying it was the same for him. He adds that they're both bad at being alone and just need to keep finding new things to do together. He assures her that he will fall in love with her and won't let her be bored. Nazuna promises herself that she'll become a vampire worth falling in love with and kisses Q.